Our next speaker is from the great state of New York. He's from Long Island. He's been in real estate for 35 years. He's a part of the OG. He built an amazing revenue share organization of over 800 agents and brokers. People love him. You're going to love him. His name rhymes with My Sharona. Remember that song? Help me welcome Joe Sinnona.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Let's get some fire in here. Get up, get up, get up from your seats. Get up from your seats. Would everybody keep clapping? Just get up from your seats. Get up, get up, get up, get up, get up, get up. Come on, everybody up, 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 up. Everybody up, everybody up. That's just in case I don't get that standing ovation at the end. Thank you. That was great, wasn't it? So my story began when I was about 8 years old. I used to take people's junk from their attics. I used to go door to door. It's my first sales experience, and I used to put all their junk from their attics and put them in a wagon and bring them up to the corner and sell them. Stupid me, I sold a bust of Elvis, signed by the king himself for $5. Person I sold it to died last month, and I immediately went and ran after that bust, but the daughter had it in a glass, and she said, "You're not getting it." But my childhood was somewhat ideal, somewhat so superficial. I knew that one day the bubble would burst on my childhood. At 12, I lost my dad. And then I lost a grandmother figure at the same time. And it was like broken glass. Death is like broken glass. It just hits you hard, whether you're at 21 or 12. And so I went to work in the church where my father worked. And I said, God is here in the church, and I'm going to find God. And God will heal me from this wound. And God wasn't coming. I asked the Monsignor, I said, do me a favor, put me to work, because I am not just going to answer your phone. And that's what my job was. So he said, okay, you can take over one of your father's duties, and that was to be in charge of the candles. Isn't it ironic that one big fire, and I'm standing behind the sign of one big fire? And so at 12 or 13 years old, I had this candle business. And I learned business. I learned spreadsheets. I learned supply and demand. I learned colors and vestment matches. And I would match the candle with whatever the priests would wear during their services. And I made $90,000 for the church the first year. I was the youngest salesman in the church. But I still had a void in my life. One night, I put myself in a bathtub wanting to kill myself at 15. And you know what I kept thinking? Of the Elton John song of Marilyn Monroe and how they found her in the nude. And I said, with a body like mine, no one's going to find me in the nude, and that's what convinced me not to kill myself. And I still have the same body and the same stomach that I've had since 15 years old. I don't know. They say it's stress, but I don't know. So I went to the library the next day, and I ended up in the self-help section. And out of nowhere, this book flies off the shelves. I can't explain it. Divine intervention, maybe it was my dad or my friend Sarah, my grandmother figure. And I said, what is this book? And I reached open and I saw the 7 stages of death on one side and the Dylan Thomas poem, do not go gentle into that good night. I said, this book was meant for me. And I told this story to several people here, and They didn't know I was going to mention it here, but years later, I bought that book. And I used it as a reference, and I opened it up the same way it was opened for me, laying on the ground. And it's been my guide tool since. But my guardian angels have brought me to this point. They brought me to every level of success that I've had in my life. And people who have mentored me throughout real estate, throughout life itself, brought me to where I am today. If I told you then that I wanted to give up on life several times, not kill myself, just become a loser, just take the wrong path. Even when I got into real estate, I said, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm in an open house. I'm doing open houses, and I'm not making any money for 6 months. I worked for boutique brokerages. I worked for franchises. Then I finally got it. And because of time, I'm going to skip some parts to this. But I became the #2 agent on Long Island for ERA. Remember ERA? And that's when I knew I had made it in real estate. That's when I knew that my guardian angels, Dad and Sarah, were behind me further and further. They didn't want me to fail. There's a quote in the Bible that I really, really love and have adopted, because every time I pray, I look up to the sky. And the quote goes like this: I looked up to the hills from whence cometh my help, and my help cometh from the Lord. And that's where all of our strength, all of our connections, I've listened to everybody's story here, and it's amazing. And I said to myself, their story is so different than mine. And then I said, no, we're equal. We're bound by one. No man is an island unto itself. You understand? No man is an island unto itself. So I quit teaching one day to go into real estate full time. I threw a chair from one side of the room to the other side of the room to get law and order in the classroom. And my kids were over there. I didn't know, nobody was hurt. I promise, I'm from Brooklyn, I know how to kill. I have an Uncle Sonny too. My name is Sinnona, you have to have an Uncle Sonny, right? Everybody who's Italian? Yeah. Don't worry, we won't tell anybody. But that changed my life. And then 2 roads diverged into a wood, and I became a full-time real estate agent. I had very little money that I started my own company with. I had $5,000. I was a broker owner for 10 years, still carrying the philosophy that my guardian angels would be there to watch me. And I dedicate this speech to them because they're watching me right now. Yesterday, ironically, was my father's birthday. And my grandmother figure died on the 6th of July, so I knew this was not an accident. Nothing in life is an accident. So as I progressed and I became more and more well-known, I found EXP. And everything just started to crash a month before I joined. I had health insurance up to gazoo, $2,000 a month for a family of 4. I said to my wife, how am I going to afford this? We got to move. And she says, what about that company that you're looking at? I says, I don't know. All I know is that it has a rev share of something. They told me that I could be a mentor of something else. 2 months into it, I hated EXP. I actually hated it, and I'll tell you the good and the bad and the ugly. So as I'm ready to call my sponsor and I'm ready to quit, David Gagnon, where is he? There he is, right there. Calls me as I'm ready to pick up the phone, and David says to me, hi, how are you? Welcome to EXP. And I'm like, I'm quitting today. But he gave me the best advice after a few minutes. He said, "You're an instructor?" "Yes, I teach pre-licensing in New York." I went back to teaching. And all my life, I've kind of modeled myself after Rocky in the Rocky 3, go back to the beginning. But it was David that said, "You're the teacher. Why haven't you become the student?" And that was my aha moment, and that's why I stayed. And I'm glad I stayed, because look what I've built. I have affordable health insurance, damn it, that gives me the ability to take my kids to Disneyland. Once a year we go to Disneyland. You know what it's like to say no to your children? Well, this guy doesn't say no to his girls, because his girls mean a lot to him. They're my why. And as I grow and grow further into this organization that I've built, I'm going to strengthen it with the strength of, I don't know, pick a God, but I'll pick my God, because that's where my strength comes from. So don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give in to apathy. Apathy is probably the worst thing that could ever sneak into your life or your organization. I didn't come here with slides. I didn't want to, go through my life. I figured you can envision it. But apathy is something you cannot envision. Apathy is just a sneak attack on your business. Take these words today, if anything you've learned from me, and that is, don't give up or give into anybody who gives you that dose of apathy. I want to thank Brent Gove and Jean Frederick. I'm not in their organization, but we're in the same company. And I reached out to Brent 2 months ago, and I said, "Would you speak on my mastermind?" And he said, "No problem, I'll be there." And I was like, "I got Brent Gove. Holy shit." Sorry, that was a Brooklyn thing. Remember, I grew up in Brooklyn. And he did it. And I sat with him and Jean Frederick on Saturday, and I'm sitting on the biggest, huge-ass yacht I possibly have ever been on in my life. I said, "This is not real." And all I could imagine was that little boy of 12 years old behind the gate, managing the candles for the church, lighting each one of them every single day so people could make prayers on the outside as they passed the church. Imagine, if you will, a young man who had just lost his father and his grandmother figure, looking out past that gate like as if it was bars and in prison. And those thoughts just deepen and get into your psyche. And I could have chosen another life. I could have been a drug dealer. I could have been a drug addict. I was in one of the worst parts of Brooklyn in the 70s and 80s. But I chose the road less traveled. And that clearly has made a difference. And I've done it with faith and fortitude, the love of my wife, the strength of my wife's words, the strength of good friends and good people who continue to put a light on this organization. And that's what I leave you with today. If each one of us lights a candle and another person draws from our candle and keeps shining a light on each other, think about the possibilities we could all have just by creating one big fire. Thank you. Thank you so much.